Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast.
Welcome back to the lounge. Pull up a chair, take a load off. You are now in the Blue Ribbon Lounge. We're going to give you some knowledge you didn't know you wanted and remind you of the knowledge you knew you had in your brain, in a dusty corner, under the wobbly leg of the end table. So get ready to time travel back to last Monday and go on this fantastic journey with us here, deep underground.
The Blue Ribbon Lounge.
In the Blue Ribbon Lounge.
All the facts that are holding up that table.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice and neat, just stuffed under there.
Right. Well,
folded up.
The wobbly corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, okay.
I always wondered where those facts are, Davey.
Yeah.
And now you've uncovered the secret.
They're with the sugar packets under the wobbly leg.
I was a matchbook kind of guy.
Matchbook?
Yes. That wedge shape really gets the...
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you're like at dinner or something and the table's wobbly,
Oh, yeah.
Shove sugar packets under there.
You ever... at the restaurant?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, restaurants don't have matchbooks anymore.
No.
Remember when you could smoke in restaurants and stuff?
Yes.
Would you like the smoking section or non-smoking section?
Back in the day, it would be smoking.
Yeah, but also like the whole place is smoking section.
Exactly. Like old Ross's, it's like,
oh yeah,
here's the smoking section.
yeah, just the less smoking section.
Yeah.
Just the section you're not allowed to smoke in.
Right.
You're still gonna get everybody else's.
Secondhand. Yep.
Yeah. Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast had Justin X on last time.
Yeah, we did.
That was a good one. And then we had a jam show the week after.
Yeah.
Me and Justin X's podcast, and that was a flop. Not really a flop. It wasn't bad, but we were so just busted from work.
Yeah.
I try to work until I record every Monday.
Yeah.
And you get here promptly after work.
Yeah.
Justin X takes his time. And he works too, you know.
Yeah. Was it kind of like last Monday?
Yeah.
It's kind of how he always.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm on my way, and then has to go home and take a poop.
Yeah. And maybe he works a little bit later than we do. My schedule is pretty flexible, so. But yeah, I worked up right until he got there, and I was just dog tired after that. But I thought it was still a good show. What I find is. It's a current events and self-help podcast.
Yeah.
But I find the current events to be so depressing that it's not helping myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, once you're in there researching news, so you're looking at the news to do on your podcast, then you kind of have to pay attention to it.
Yeah, the news is just no good.
Yeah, because I get my news from the BBC usually on my way home. That's my news time.
Which is probably pretty good. I'm sure it's still a little biased, but with it being an outside factor, they're probably not getting paid by the American corporations.
Correct.
Yeah, so I could see it being... Also, you listen to a lot of NPR, right?
Yeah. So it's just depends.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just don't want to hear it. You're like, okay, it's when... Thursday, I've heard 4 days of Ukraine talk. I'm just going to listen to music today.
Yeah, for sure. What I like is on NPR, they have those game shows.
Oh, yeah.
On like Sundays or something. Maybe they have them other times.
They usually in the mornings on the weekends because you can get like that encore presentation on Sunday.
Okay, yeah.
I'm pretty sure. The Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Yeah, that's the one I always end up catching if I do.
Yeah, because they change it. Sometimes it's like, at 10, 11, like changes.
Weird. And like for NPR, you gotta like pay to be on there, I think.
Like
NPR. What's NPR stand for?
National Public Radio.
Oh, I thought it was like
non-for-profit. No, because there's IPR, which is Iowa Public Radio, and then NPR is the bigger, that's grander one. So it's like public access. They get all their funding from
the government?
No. Well, there's grants, and then like some corporations, and then viewers like you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they do those drives.
I miss seeing those on TV. I've only seen one or two, in my age, but seeing them on TV where they have like a whole cast of wacky comedians on the phone lines and
what are those something
telethon? I think that's it.
Yeah, Jerry Lewis used to do one all the time for kids.
Jerry Lewis in the news?
That's Huey Lewis.
Oh, right. Whoops.
Jerry Lewis is the Hello Nurse guy.
Hello, nurse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like the Nutty Professor.
Oh, the original.
The original.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He used to hang out with Dean Martin a lot.
Hell yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Probably doing a lot of cocaine.
Yeah. Him and the Rat Pack.
Hell yeah. We got Third Man Factor today,
Yes, we do.
which I didn't know much about, and I was having a lot of trouble researching it at first
Yeah.
until I realized it's not necessarily like a science.
Right.
There's a little bit of, scientific speculation behind it,
Yeah.
but it's more of just like an experience.
Right. It's you do it like a phantom leg, maybe kind of
Yeah.
similar thing.
Yeah. So when we first started talking about it, I remembered hearing about not Reagan, Kennedy
Yeah.
during his assassination. I remember hearing from the closest bodyguard.
Yeah.
I thought it was a Third Man Factor. It ended up being, I think, when he was remembering it in his first couple of interviews, he was just remembering it wrong. Like his mind was blocking stuff out or something like that. And it may have even been a Jackie Kennedy thing. I can't remember. But I went down that rabbit hole when researching.
JFK.
So I lost like a whole day of research just doing JFK stuff. And not like crazy assassination stuff. But after he was murdered, Jackie Kennedy like went into hiding for a little while. Like not literally, but she just like, and I guess she was always kind of a standoffish first woman. But she recorded like 16 hours of audio.
Really?
That was released like later.
What do you mean, like of audio? Like
of just her experiences. I think it was like meeting Jack, being in the White House. I was trying to find some Marilyn Monroe stuff.
Yeah.
And it's in my queue, but I never really got around to it. I was like, oh, snap back into it, Matt. You got to do a little bit of research.
Yeah, I looked at some other stuff. Yeah, that one's weird because that Daily Plaza, people will go like on vacation there, and I guess there's a dot on the road where the car was when he got shot, and people will go take a picture with the dot. It's like
that's a little weird.
And there's the grassy knoll.
Yeah, I knew a guy who, when I was working at the gun plant, he had like almost a similar rifle, and he like was watching a documentary, and he like taped it, and he like set up one of his bolt action rifles to try to make all the shots.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm a pretty good marksman, and I don't think I could do that.
Pop off 3 shots in that amount of time.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. He was like, there's no way he could have done it with a bolt action.
Yeah. Well, that whole thing is crazy.
Yeah. It's one of those, we'll never know what happened.
Yeah, considering that the majority of the eyewitnesses have all died.
Oh, well, and didn't they... I can't remember if they were going to or they did release a bunch of that information, but it was like 80% redacted.
Yeah,
Ugh.
That's usually what they do. They're like, oh, it's been 12 years or whatever. They're gonna release more information, and then it's all blacked out.
Yeah, and while I was kind of in that rabbit hole, I saw that the government just recently released new information on what's it called when you leave your body? Astral projection.
Astral projection?
Yeah. So I don't know. We did a podcast on that.
Yeah, that was our first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Far Reach? That was
Farsight.
Farsight was like the new program.
Yeah, or like a organization or something like that.
But I was wondering if this was part of that government program that they were doing it in.
Yeah.
I never got around to seeing what they released. I heard it was it was part of a lot of documents that were recently released, which I guess every year is a new year for things to hit their expiration date.
Yeah. I don't know if I had my book back then. I was trying to think what that project was called.
It wasn't Blue Book. Blue Book was the aliens.
Yeah. It was like Gondola Flame or Stargate?
Stargate. I think that's what
one
it was.
of them.
Yeah. It did change names a bunch. I do remember that.
Yeah.
Was one of them like Grill Flame?
Something like that, yeah.
Who knows what kind of crazy names they got for stuff now.
Yeah. Well, that's their trick. as someone finds out that they have like a committee to, I don't know, study if plants can talk, and then they put it out there, and they're like, oh, we don't do that anymore, but they just changed the name to like, I don't know, something else.
Yeah.
Gorilla balls.
Gorilla balls. That's the next episode. We're going to uncover this truth of Project Gorilla Balls.
Project Gorilla Balls. Yeah, that'd be funny. You probably look it up, and it is something about like us putting weapons in the hands of gorillas in Kosovo.
I remember seeing there was a monkey, not an ape, I think. Or it could have been an ape. But there was some sort of primate that was using like a stick to do, or a rock or something to do something, and people were like, "Oh, they're learning." Yeah,
some people say that they're like they might be entering the Stone Age.
That would be interesting.
Yeah,
how crazy would that be?
I've heard it on Joe Rogan a bunch, but you can look up. There's an orangutan, and he's like holding onto a branch, leaning over like a river, and he's got like a stick that he's going to use as a spear.
I think that's the one I saw.
Yeah,
yeah,
that one's pretty cool.
Yeah, but nobody ever talks about otters.
No,
otters are always using tools to get those clams open.
Yeah, and that's because they're cute.
Oh, so cute, dude!
Got those little human hands.
Yeah, yeah. I saw a video on the TikToks that was like in a zoo enclosure. And they must have been going to feed them or something because all the otters were like lined up and like standing up and stuff.
Yeah.
That was hella cute. They'll never take over the world. Too cute to do it.
Too cute to do it. I saw something where it was like, I think it was in like Japan. It was in some country, but their zoo, for some reason, they had otters and monkeys together.
Okay.
And the monkeys would always harass the otters.
Oh, come on.
And this one time, one monkey got too close and an otter got him, and then the other otters like swarmed him and was like, "We're gonna fuck you up, monkey."
Got him. You gotta stick together.
Yeah.
Also a shout out to Third Hand Salon.
Yeah.
My wife got me she's a friend of mine from the old burlesque days when I was hosting the shows.
Yeah.
She's one of the performers. But my wife got me like a head massage, or she like washed my hair and used this like silicone spiky thing to like massage my head.
Yeah.
And also a beard trim.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was looking nice. Pretty good last weekend, if I do say so myself. Not that you listeners would be able to tell.
Right.
Maybe my back's a little bit straighter. I'm talking a little bit more confident.
Yeah, I got some swagger in my voice.
But yeah, shout out to Third Hand Salon. She did a great job, and she has stuff on there that like anybody can enjoy. Like, if maybe you don't got a whole head of hair you want done, maybe you just want a scalp massage or a beard trim or something. So if you're in the Quad City area, go check her out.
Yeah, is that Illinois or Iowa?
Iowa.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard to find the GPS. Lately, GPS has been failing me.
Really?
Yeah, it's been taking me to the next place over a whole lot. I don't know if it's maybe just new construction because this was a really new building. But yeah, Google.
Yeah, Google
let me down.
That's why I don't rely on that.
Oh, you just have a huge map in your car?
I do, actually.
I do too, but
yeah. Or if it's something like a new place, I'll just look at the map and see where it's at, and then I'm like, oh, I know how to get there.
I know how to get here, and then it's just like
right
two straights and a left. Yeah.
Finally went to Zeke's.
You never been to Zeke's?
No.
Oh, dude, what'd you get?
Pulled pork tacos.
That's what's up. Oh, tacos?
Yeah.
I get the pulled pork nachos.
Oh, okay.
And dude, it's huge and super good. But probably the pulled pork tacos were super good.
Oh,
too.
Yeah, they were good. I was worried because I have that cilantro disease.
Oh, it tastes like soap?
It tastes like soap, yeah. And I was going to ask for them without, but then it actually was fine. There was only like 2 pieces that I was like a little iffy on, but
yeah. Did you get anything to drink?
I got some kind of Moscow Mule thing.
Okay. They got a lot of good drinks and a lot of good food. Their barbecue sauce is to die for, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the old lady got their shrimp, their spicy chili shrimp or whatever.
Okay. Was it good? Was it hot?
Yeah. It was
nice.
Well, it was like, had a kick. It wasn't like overwhelming.
Yeah, that's the best kind. I mean, you don't want to be, sweating and not being able to taste your food.
Yeah.
But just that little bit of kick, that's what's up.
Yeah. I'd probably go back for sure.
Yeah. Did you go to the one on Locust there?
I went to the one in the Redstone room.
Okay. I don't think I've been to that one. They used to be up the hill on Brady.
Yeah, where what was that place? Oh, I almost said it. Like Lumpy's,
Lumpy's.
Lumpy's.
I think that's the
Was that
building it
one
was
that-
in.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, super good. Zeke's Island Cafe.
Yeah, I'd recommend. And Territoria Tiramisu.
I've never had tiramisu. Where's this place at?
It's downtown Bettendorf.
Downtown Bettendorf. Okay.
If you're really old, it's the old R.J. Boers building.
Okay.
But yeah, it was good. It's an Italian restaurant, obviously,
Yeah.
but it's weird because it's like has Mexican restaurant vibes,
Okay.
but it's like a Italian restaurant.
All right.
Yeah.
What'd you have?
Some kind of seafood thing.
Okay.
Because I was trying to be authentic. Because when you go to Italy,
Yeah.
it's mostly seafood.
I bet.
Like all the sauces and stuff they have, but it's not like meatballs, and they usually do like clams or like octopus or whatever because they're right there surrounded by the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah. I listened to a Greek comedian, Stavros Halsiek. I think I may have talked about him.
Yeah.
He's got a great podcast, Stavi's World. But he talks about going there and eating a shitload of seafood.
Yeah.
And I had heard on This American Life that seafood here, like fried calamari,
Yeah.
is like pig intestines.
Oh, I've heard that before.
It just
yeah.
has the shape and like texture of calamari.
Yeah.
So I always, whenever he talks about like calamari or seafood from Greece, I always think of like, ooh, fried pig
Pig butts.
intestines.
Yeah.
Fried pig butts.
Well, some places when you get that, they'll actually look like little octopus.
Oh, okay.
But the ones that are the rings, I think that's the one you gotta
Yeah,
look out for.
that's the one.
Yeah.
It's just like diced up.
Yeah.
But also, pig is edible.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can't tell the difference.
And if it tastes good, and it's not like they rip it right out of the pig with poop all over it.
Right.
They clean that stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. And, that's just like, what's behind the curtain
Yeah.
now. So who knows all the other stuff we put in our mouths.
True. You just kind of you assume it is what it is.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the best way to do it.
That's why people got pissed off at McDonald's.
With the like red slime.
Yeah, the pink slime or whatever.
Pink slime, yeah.
But all that is like super ground up beef.
Yeah.
I mean, it might not be like the choicest cuts.
Right, but it's a burger.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to grind up prime rib into
Yeah.
McDonald's dollar hamburgers.
Yeah, unless you want to pay $10 for your McDonald's hamburger.
Right. If you thought that's what it was, you're an insane person.
Right. Yeah, and so when they're like, "Oh, that's what it's made of," and they're like freaked out, and the guy, like one of the corporate guys, was like, "Look, it's fine." He actually ate it, and I'm like, "Oh, well, yeah, then it's fine. It's not like
it's
those
edible.
like the fucking fracker people who are like, your water's fine, and they're like, here's a glass of yellow water, drink it then."
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And downtown Downport is not in good shape.
It ebb and flows for sure.
Yeah, it's like they'll put a bunch of money into it, make it look all nice, and then they let it go to pot.
Yeah. There's supposed to be like that. Have we talked about that movie theater going down there?
No, I saw something about it.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like an indie film theater.
Yeah. Like a Sky Bar and stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it ebbs and flows.
Yeah, because we want to make it like a date night. So I parked down by the river, and then we walked across the Sky Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is just horrible. Like the AC doesn't work, but you can hear it just rattling. Yeah. And I don't know if do they LED it anymore? Maybe.
Was it not on?
No, it was like 6 o'clock. It wasn't dark yet.
Oh, they do.
They do? They still okay?
Yeah, I wish they did a little bit more with it, along with the new bridge.
Yeah.
I mean, you have these lights. Have a lot of fun with it. You know?
Back when they first built it, they would play blues music, and then the LEDs would go along with the blues music.
Oh, really?
Because there's like a stereo system in there.
Yep. My wife worked there for quite a while when I met her, and she got to see the computer that it's hooked up to,
Yeah.
and it's some kind of like ancient Windows 95 computer, and like nobody knows really how it works.
Okay.
So I wonder if maybe the people who set it up don't service it probably, and the guy who was there that they trained quit, and
Yeah.
like,
So it's just kind of like whatever.
yeah, it's on now. Let's pray that it stays on.
Yeah, because they used to do like when they had the Blues Fest down there, they would somehow, whoever's on stage, they would have that in the Sky Bridge.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, but now there's like signs that are like, enjoy the Sky Bridge, but make your visit short. No loitering or camping.
No camping, yeah.
And I'm like, that's funny. And we're like walking, and we walk down to where the elevators are, on the Redstone room side.
Okay.
And turn the corner, and there's a lady just sleeping, sprawled out right between the elevators. It's like, I think we'll take the stairs.
Yeah, that's probably smell like urine.
Yeah, it's bad. And then, yeah, it's the only elevator that I'm kind of afraid of.
Those elevators.
Yeah,
They just
like,
kind of rattle and shake.
yeah. I'm like, I'm glad we're only like 3 stories up.
Yeah, yeah. We might get really hurt, but probably not going to die.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. It's like it's nice to look at, but then when you get everything smells like piss.
Yeah.
Because we went in, and then we ate, and then we went out like the River Music Experience exit,
Mm-hmm.
and then walked by the parking garage and stuff, and that street just was stinky.
Hmm.
It's just like, this is just where the homeless people use the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, downtown, my wife's seen a lot of crazy stuff on both ends of the downtown.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it seems like that one corner where they're putting that theater,
Mhm.
and there's like the complaint department and Armored Gardens.
yeah, over by the bridge.
Yeah, it's kind of being like hipster zone,
Yeah.
so it's not as bad as like what on the west side
Yeah.
where it starts getting into like the industrial spots.
Yeah, well, I think downtown kind of ends a little bit before you'd think it should.
Yeah,
Like Abernathy's and 392 are not downtown technically.
yeah. I think Sippies is maybe that, or just past the Figgy, pretty much.
Yeah, I think the Capitol is
The
is
Cap-
that, yeah, so like Sippies is on the other side of the street as the Capitol,
Yeah,
but down one more. But I think the Capitol is where it ends.
yeah, or like the bus station.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when my kid was smaller and we'd go during the day and walk around downtown,
Mm-hmm.
get those big city vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd only go down so far, and then I'm like, that way is it's a little sketchy.
Yeah. But you'll have that. I mean, little city, big city vibes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah.
We were talking about that. I mean, the lady were talking about it, where it's got the little city vibes, but it's big enough where you won't run into people for like a year or two, and like, oh, you're still over at the same place? Yeah, like, but you just don't run into them at the grocery store or a gas station.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
For sure.
that makes sense.
It does. Third man factor, right.
Yeah. Well, we were just doing our out and abouts.
Yeah.
Or it's also known as third man syndrome
Syndrome.
or angel syndrome.
I did hear that. A lot of people think that you got to put like a religious twist on it to make it make sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But the third man factor or third man syndrome is the reported situations where an unseen presence, such as a spirit, provides comfort or support during traumatic experiences. And it's a lot of times is a feeling of not
Mhm.
being alone, or like a voice
Yeah.
saying, hey, come this way. And some people have actually seen like manifestations of dead relatives or somebody that's not there.
Yeah. And I had seen a whole lot of positive ones.
Yeah.
You know, and after we talk about it, maybe we can kind of talk about other things of it.
Yeah.
But there's no real scientific explanation for it. A lot of people have thought maybe it's possibly adrenaline rush, or from extreme stress, or maybe a coping mechanism from being faced with like the reality of your own death, because they're usually pretty traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
In 2006, a study of the brain was done by stimulating the left temporal parietal junction of the brain. It gave people the illusion or feeling that someone else was in the room with them.
Oh, yeah, they were doing that with magnets. Or
Okay.
a magnetic field, not necessarily magnets.
Okay.
And,
Because your brain's all electricity.
yeah, and he called it the God helmet
Oh.
because it pretty much was a modified motorcycle helmet
Okay.
that had these solenoids to pump different magnetic fields.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so a lot of the time it was not a happy like a good situation because people would just be like, "There's someone here." It'd be like an alien situation where they're like, I know they're here. This is creepy. Someone else in this room."
Oh, like when people wake up, like sleep paralysis.
Yeah,
When
kinda.
when they're supposedly getting abducted and stuff.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't even put those two together.
yeah, because he said like they could tweak it and then find the sweet spot where it would be like it's like a benevolent or a helpful someone that's here.
Okay, and I would bet that like your perception of the world around you would affect it too. Like if you're just sitting in a room and you feel a presence, it's like bringing an odd feeling into a normal circumstance.
Right.
But a lot of the I don't know if you have a bunch of stories, but I mostly got stories.
Yeah.
But it's like an extreme situation bringing an extra feeling into it, and that would maybe be something you hold on to,
Yeah.
so you don't over freak out.
Right. Yeah, they can say some people said, or like some of the research that I was seeing was like disassociation is because
okay.
I had a story, if I can remember his name, but it was James Cervini, but he was climbing the Delta Form which is a mountain in the Canadian Rockies, him and his friend, and they got hit by an avalanche
Okay.
and got thrown like thousands of feet down the hill or down the mountain. And he woke up in a field and like both his arms were broken.
Oof.
One of them had severe nerve damage, so it was just useless. Both knees had tendon rips.
Oh,
He broke his back in two places
damn.
and smashed his nose and busted out a bunch of teeth.
Oh, jeez, Louise, talk about. I mean, you're alive,
Yeah, but his friend was not so lucky.
dead.
Yeah, so he like crawled over to check on his friend. His friend was dead, so he's like, "Okay, I'm out." But then he heard a voice that was like, "No, you're not done. Like, why don't you grab his jacket and his canteen, get that extra water, and you're probably about a mile from your base camp, so just start crawling." And the voice told him to like use the blood coming out of his face to make an arrow, so if someone was to like ski by, they would see like, hey, go that way.
Whoa, that's a good idea either way.
Yeah. And he made it back to his camp. It was like a mile from where he was, but it took him the rest of the day to get there, like because he just really had one arm that he could use, but that arm was broke.
Yeah.
And his legs weren't really working because he ripped all the tendons in his knees. And when he got back to camp, he couldn't get fire, like the stove to start, and he couldn't unzip his sleeping bag, and he couldn't even like get his hand to his face to like do anything.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of like passed out and was like, "Okay, I guess I'm gonna die in my tent instead of next to my buddy." And he fell asleep, and then in the middle of the night, like he heard the voice like, hey, call out, like call out. And so he's like, "Hey," and some skiers just happened to be coming by and found him. They had a radio and they were able to get him out of there.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, but like the disassociation part would be like maybe it's just his subconscious telling him what to do. So it kind of like your brain splits. So then you have your right side and your left side.
Yeah, because like your conscious mind would be freaking out,
Yeah.
and feeling the pain of any of the physical trauma you're going through.
Yeah. And just being like, I can't stand up. My legs aren't moving. This arm's not moving. Like, my face hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you just have like your subconscious becomes part conscience. And like, hey, calm down. Like, we can get through this. They also say, because we're social creatures,
Mm-hmm.
that if there's not someone there, we can like make them there, make it up.
Okay.
Because like 75% of children 7 and under have imaginary friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they think this could be maybe like an offshoot of that.
Hmm.
As you're in this tough situation and you're freaking out, but then all of a sudden here comes Tyler Durden to be like,
Yeah.
everything's okay. We'll just make soap and blow up the world.
Yeah. Did you ever have an imaginary friend?
Not like one. Like if I was playing like beat 'em up or cops, I could always imagine like a robber or somebody, but it would never be like, oh, that's Bob.
Yeah, like the purple dragon with pink spots on him that wanders into the
and,
room.
oh, don't sit on the chair. There's Pete's dragon, Puff.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Puff the Magic or Pete's Dragon. I don't remember which one it
Yeah.
would be, but
Did you?
I had a lot of stuffed animals that like had personalities to me.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Which is kind of like a beat 'em up type situation.
Yeah, or like just having an imagination. I had GI Joes, but they weren't like, I didn't talk to them, but they would have
They were like, "Here, come kill all these Nazis."
right, but they would have elaborate battles and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And have personalities and
yeah, their own thing going
yeah.
on.
Because you got to have some sort of story arc if you have stories in your head.
Yeah,
And you always got the one guy that you like a little bit more than the others.
yeah, Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes. Yeah, I had heard one of the first accountings of it was a Polish explorer in the Arctic, Ernest Shackleton.
Yes.
This was in the age that people were first discovering the Arctic, and he was trying to cross all the way across it.
Yeah, because he was in 2 other expeditions. One, he got sick and had to go back. And the second one, I think he helped find the true South Pole.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And then, yeah, he was going to do this one where they were going to go on foot.
Yeah, and so they were sailing there in his ship Endurance. Didn't endure.
No.
It ended up getting trapped in the frozen water, and the ice started cracking it, and the ship eventually sank.
Did you know how long they were stuck in the ice?
On the ship?
Yeah. 10 months.
10 months. Oh my
Yeah, they got
gosh.
stuck, and they were just, all they could do was drift because the ice was just like,
Oh. And so that when they got off the boat and it sank, they were just on frozen ice.
yeah, on the ocean.
Yeah. So like no land. I mean, it's better than open water, I guess, but
Yeah.
not by a lot.
No.
So they made their way across the frozen water and finally got to Elephant Island.
Yeah. Do you know? Okay, so the boat broke,
Yeah.
and then they were on foot, and they had their lifeboats with them.
Mm-hmm. And sled dogs.
Yeah, because they ended up eating some of them.
Yeah.
But they were 5 months just on ocean ice.
Really?
Yes.
Because this whole expedition was like 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of eating the dogs, one of the crew members supposedly had a quote that was like, "I would have rather shot several men before." Well, I know several men I would have rather shot than those dogs.
Yeah, I'm sure after 5 months of just walking on ice in the middle of the ocean, people are going to start getting on your nerves.
Oh, for sure. And so when they got to Elephant Island, they couldn't quite.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I got all these things.
yeah. Shoot.
They got back to the ocean, and then 3 days later, after being in their dinghies or whatever, then they made it to Elephant Island.
Oh, okay.
I just think the times that they spent are like, that's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, keep going. It seems like maybe you got a little bit more than me.
Oh, no, I just wrote down the times because I'm like, that's crazy, because they got to Elephant Island, and they knew there was like a whaling station in the South Georgia Islands.
Yes.
which
Which was like 300 miles away or something like that.
yeah, which is crazy because I was looking at a map and it seemed like it would have been quicker to go to like Argentina or like whatever the tip of South America is. But
And you would have been sailing north, which would have been, I would think, easier.
yeah, but I've heard two different accounts where he just takes 3 people or 2 people and him.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, when he left Elephant Island, he took 4 people in him,
yeah,
and they sailed to the it was a British base.
I didn't catch that part.
I
I
bel-
just know it was like a whaling station.
Yeah, I believe it was like ran by the Britons,
Okay.
the British. So they made it there with like through like hurricane winds.
Yeah, 17 days.
17 days.
Yeah,
In like a
like a dinghy. Like
yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit. It's like lifeboat size, but it has like a mast,
Oh, okay.
so you can kind of sail it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you said 17 days?
yeah,
In this dinghy, through hurricane winds, they get to the island.
yeah. And they were sorry. Then like ice was starting to form on that boat, and they had to take their like axes and hack the ice off to keep themselves upright
Yeah.
because it was like threatened to like capsize on them.
And so when they get to the island, there's like, I think it was like rocky shores or something. They had nowhere to dock. So they had to sail all the way around to the opposite side.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah. And by the time they got there, their like rudder was broke and stuff like that. So they had to dock at the first place that they could.
Yeah, pull it up on shore.
Yeah. That's when they left 2 guys at the boat and just Shackleton and 2 other guys started walking the, what was it, 32 miles across the island to get to the whaling station.
Yeah, it was like a 36-hour trek
Mm-hmm.
because they were just basically like we have to go over the whole island is a mountain pretty much.
Yeah.
So they had to walk over the mountain, like up and down this terrain. And I heard at one point they got to the top of this mountain and they couldn't really see and they didn't know which direction. So they just jumped
Oh,
and they just went sliding down it for like 1,000 feet.
yeah. Going
Something like
down
that.
would be the easiest part, right?
Yeah, just a fucking slip and slide. But that, because they're like, well, this might kill us, but this might work too.
Yeah. And they finally got there to the whaling station, but this was during World War I or II?
1914, so 2. If we're-
1914.
Yeah,
I thought that's 1, right?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's when this happened.
Yeah, I thought you said World War II.
No, I said that'd be. Did I say 2?
You may have. It doesn't matter.
One of the world wars.
Yeah, but so this station was not like given a lot of provisions because they were sending it all to the war.
Yeah.
So they couldn't really help them. And then I believe, I want to say it's Chile, but I don't have it written down here. But another country gave them a boat to be able to go pick up the rest of their guys.
Yeah.
And then the 2 that stayed back at the little schooner thing, they got picked up by a whaling boat. And so everybody turned out okay.
Yeah. There's 28 of them, and they all survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he went on to write his memoirs, and he said at one point he was like, there were 4, not 3, and he's saying that they were guided by, or they had providence to guide them.
Yeah.
And later on, the other 2 men also stated that they thought there was 4 of them and not 3 of them.
Yeah, they had that feeling.
Yeah. And later on, when Shackleton was asked about this 4th guy that was with him, he was like, none of us care to speak about that. There are some things which can never be spoken of. To hint about them comes precariously near to sacrilege. The experience was eminently one of those things. So,
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine everybody that has not been in that situation during that time.
yeah.
I think people accept things more now that you can't explain.
Right.
But at that time, I would imagine most people would have thought you were nuts.
Right. So they either didn't want to talk about it, or they just felt like that's just our thing. That's how we got through it. It's not I want to be famous for having a ghost with us kind of thing.
Yeah, or like some sort of spiritual reckoning type deal.
Yeah, or like just divine
intervention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how you'd want to just keep that to yourself.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of things they did out there that you'd want to keep to yourself.
I'm sure, yeah. Then what?
Oh, when they rescued the guys that they originally left, like the 23 other guys.
Yeah.
I guess they were settling down for a pot of penguin breast and whale-bone stew or something like that. I was like, kind of sounded good.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Oh, for sure. And like they probably had it, if they were eating that kind of stuff, they may have had it a little bit better than the guys that left, you know?
Yeah. Well, probably the bulk of the supplies was left with the 23 guys.
Yeah.
And they said they didn't really have weapons and stuff, so, and they ate a lot of raw meat too.
Oh, I can't remember if it was this story or another one that kind of crossed my path, but I think they said that they only took provisions for like 2 months because they figured they'd either find the station or be dead in 2 months.
Okay, when they left.
Yeah.
I mean, all right. Well, they found it quicker than that then. So,
barely.
Yeah.
For sure, over a month.
17 days just on a ship. And like I said, the thing is not that big. If you think of a rowboat and it's got 3 guys in there and you're in there for 17 days.
Yeah.
That would get
just peeing and pooping over the edge. Though they may not have had a ton of provisions, I think when you are in that kind of fasting mode, probably stuff's not going through you quite as quick.
Probably not. But that story, that Shackleton in his book South is what that story is in. And T.S. Eliot read the story and it stuck with him. And so he wrote a poem that was, "Who is the third who walks beside you? When I count, there are only you and I together. But when I look ahead, up the white road, there is always another one walking beside you. Gliding, wrapped in a brown mantle, hooded, I do not know whether a man or a woman, but who is it on the other side of you?" And that was The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. And I think he read the book, but then couldn't remember how many people there were.
Just like going off of it.
So he just like there was 2 of us, and then the third, and then where he says who is the third, that's where they get the third man for the third man syndrome.
Yeah, because I did hear a bunch of people being like, well, like when you're in this avalanche and your buddy's dead and you're talking to just another voice.
Yeah.
There's only 2 of you technically, but.
Right. But yeah, it's because that poem is why they named it Third Man Syndrome.
Cool. I did have another older story. During the 20th century, Robert Ekval and Ed Carlson worked as missionaries in rural Tibet.
Okay.
They rode horses to get around from place to place, and one day while and they carried weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
Because of like robbers and stuff like that. One day while they were traveling through the mountains, they spotted a larger group of riders coming at them. The 2 men were kind of frozen with fear, thinking that they'd have to fight for their lives. Suddenly, the group slowed to a stop and retreated. Confused but relieved by the situation, they carried on. Later, Ekval ran into one of the bandits, and he asked the man why they retreated. And the bandit said that they weren't afraid of him or his friend, but who was that shining one with you? According to the man, there was a third man sitting on a horse whose skin appeared to emanate light and warded off the attackers. And Ekval and Carlson had not seen nor sensed the riders that the bandits saw.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't necessarily, the third man helping them directly,
right,
but kind of indirectly showing themselves to the bandits,
right, to scare them off.
Yeah,
that's an interesting one.
Yeah, for sure.
Just to be like,
and that could be part of the shining light to me would be a sign of like a religious type experience.
Yeah.
Like a angel syndrome or whatever.
Right.
You'd kind of said is another nickname for it.
Like a guardian angel.
Mm-hmm. So I could see how, through these stories, how it kind of gets translated into that.
Yeah. There was a guy, Joshua Shulcom, who was the first guy to circumnavigate the globe by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was starting out, he stopped at the Azores Islands, and hung out with the locals, and then they sent him off with like a bunch of fruit and cheeses and stuff.
Okay.
Like a welcome basket kind of thing. And like, so he's sailing, he's like eating this fruit and this cheese and stuff, and then he just gets violently ill because from food poisoning.
Yeah.
Probably not on purpose, but like, how long does cheese and fruit last?
Yeah. Who knows when they gave it to him and how long he had kept it and was eating on it before he got sick.
Right. But it just so happened that like wind started battering his boat around. He's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, probably not. Back in 1895.
Yeah.
He would probably be like, I don't know, whatever
Slang
slang
terms
for that is. Yeah. Are you joshing me? But he like tried to take care of his boat the best he could, but then he ended up just passing out from like being sick.
Mm.
And he woke up briefly, and he said that he saw a Spaniard dressed as what back in the day they would consider like a pirate.
Okay.
Or people would take him for a pirate.
Yeah, big hat.
Yeah, big hat. And the guy said, yeah, he took off his hat, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, senor. Don't worry about anything. I'll guide your boat through the storm." And he said he was the navigator from the Christopher Columbus's Pinta.
Oh.
And you're in good hands. And then Slocum ended up passing out, and when he came to, like, it was like birds chirping. Well, probably not birds chirping, but like the sun was coming up and the storm clouds were going away, and he checked all his instruments and shit and found out he was like 90 miles in the right direction.
Nice.
Yeah, still on course.
Well, in that story, I mean, you have the effects of food poisoning on your mind, and whatever would come with heavy rains and winds and waves through a storm.
But you think you kind of need to steer your boat. You can't just let it fucking bounce around in a storm.
Yeah. Well, also the ocean has natural currents.
Yeah,
who knows?
true.
Who knows? Like what kind of direction he was going in?
Well,
I'm sure somebody does.
I think he was heading to Gibraltar.
Okay.
So he must have been in the Atlantic at that time, because the Azores, I feel, is kind of like on your way around.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. But I don't really know. They said he was heading to Gibraltar, but I don't know if he was still in the Pacific or if he was like in the Atlantic at that time.
Yeah.
Because I know the Atlantic has the trade currents.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I heard this one in February. I didn't get a lot of these names. A lot of them I read, and they were like, a lot of them were usernames and stuff. This one was in February of 2011. There was a guy whose mother-in-law was in hospice for lung cancer, and his wife had flown to live with her for a little while in Minnesota, while this guy was living in Colorado. And he was working for like Backcountry Magazine, and he was working at a ski resort. He really liked skiing, so he was a little bit stressed about not seeing his wife and her being stressed out from her mother being sick.
Yeah.
So one day he was like, well, he called his wife and he was like, well, I'm going to be busy for a little while. I'm going to go skiing.
Yeah.
So, I'll get a hold of you when I get home. And she was like, well, mom's not doing too well. So just let me know and keep your phone on you. And just check it from time to time.
Yeah.
So he goes, and he had been working at the ski resort, and he kind of knew this area that wasn't very used a lot.
Okay.
And it was peaceful to not be around everybody.
Yeah, you want to clear your head if you got all that stress.
And this was in February, right? A couple of days before was a huge storm, so that just dumped a bunch of snow down. But I guess in the later seasons, it's not like that fluffy, powdery snow.
Oh, okay.
It's more like wet and heavy.
It's slush kind of.
Yeah, so he was skiing, and I guess I know it's like this in ice skating, but you have edges on your skates, and skates are just like a shorter version of a ski, kind of a thin strip.
Yeah.
But he said he caught an edge wrong, and he tumbled into a tree.
Oh.
He hit his back right into the tree, and his like skis got kind of caught, so he was upside down on this tree, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I'm alive. He was going to call the ski patrol. He heard a voice in his head that said, you can't stay here. You're not safe. You have to get out of here. And he kind of argued with this voice in his head a few times. And he was finally like, fine, I'll get out of here. So he kind of wiggles his way out of this tree.
Yeah.
And by this time, his, what's it called when you're super injured, so you don't feel everything?
Shock.
Yeah, shock started wearing off, right? And he knew the area, so he knew where the ski aid point was.
Okay.
And so he skied in that direction. He couldn't really stand up straight because he hurt his back, and he was getting out of shock. So it was starting to really hurt him. By the time he gets to the ski aid station, they like put him on a stretcher and like keep his neck stiff. He ended up breaking like 5 vertebrae, like crushing him.
Yeah.
As he was skiing, like the whole time, he heard this voice in his head, like, you have to keep going. You're not safe here. You need to keep going.
Yeah.
By the time he gets to this aid shack, they call his wife and tell her that he's fine. He is injured. He's got to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And he hears like her over the phone talking to another guy, like screaming that her mom just died.
Oh.
So he like doing the backwards math that she had died as he hit that tree.
Oh.
And so it was like his mother-in-law was telling him that he needed to get out of there, and he thinks that he probably would have been there if he hadn't have gotten out of the tree while he was still in shock.
Yeah.
He figures he probably wouldn't have been able to do it.
Oh.
And so his mother-in-law, after she passed, helped him get out of that tree and saved his life.
Yeah. I'm sure. You worthless so-and-so, get out of that tree. My daughter deserves better than you.
Yeah, right. He was just being nice because his wife may have like read the thing.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Charles Lindbergh had a case of the third man syndrome when he was making his attempt to fly from New York to Paris.
Okay.
It'd be the first solo flight across the Atlantic Ocean. And he was like 24 hours into like a 36-hour flight. And he was starting to like feel it.
Get delirious.
Yeah. And like, because the sleep deprivation was getting to him. And in an airplane, I figured it's a lot worse because you're just riding on air. So you're not like hitting a bump. Mm-hmm. Or if you like close your eyes, you're not going to hit that rumble strip to wake you up.
Yeah. Right.
But he said he like felt his eyes starting drifting. And then his cabin, like there were started to be people in the cabin of his plane.
Huh.
And they were like giving him directions.
Just like milling about.
Kinda. I have a couple quotes here. He says, "Those phantoms speak with human voices. They are friendly, vapor-like shapes, without substance, able to appear or disappear at will, to pass in and out through the walls of the fuselage. They were discussing problems of my navigation, reassuring me, giving me message of importance unattainable in ordinary life. These spirits have no rigid bodies, yet they remain human in outline and form. They're neither intruders nor strangers. It's more like a gathering of friends and family after years of separation, as though I'd known them before in some past life."
Oh yeah, that like faint recognition of like, I feel like I know you.
Yeah,
but I can't place it.
Yeah, but I guess after going through a bunch of dense fog and like crazy lightning, and then you're 24 hours awake.
Yeah.
Maybe you do start having little hallucinations.
And that's why they have co-pilots.
Yeah, because if you think about what you talk about on the Human Feats one of those marathon runners.
Yeah.
That one lady that was on Joe Rogan, and she was saying how like she started like kind of hallucinating near the end.
And seeing herself run and like cheering herself on.
Yeah, or like one lady was like hearing piano music or something.
Oh,
Yeah. So maybe it's just in situations like that, your brain, maybe you have a little break in
Yeah.
reality.
yeah.
'Cause-
I got one kind of like that. So this guy's telling a story about his grandfather who was in the Korean War. He was in a trench under heavy fire, and someone who he assumed to be his sergeant came and checked on him and then left and moved on to the next trench. By the time the fighting was over at this particular point, his grandfather went and thanked the sergeant the next day, but the sergeant said he denied ever even getting out of his own trench.
Oh yeah.
And he couldn't find anyone who admitted that they came and checked in on him that night. So we always kind of thought it was a guardian angel.
Oh.
But, if you're... And I guess I don't know if anybody else was in this trench. It sounds like no, because other people would have been able to confirm or deny it.
Yeah.
But to be in that insane of a situation, a war,
Yeah.
and to feel like somebody is able to check in on you, feel like you're not alone, that would give you the ability to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Was it weird?
Yeah.
I have the Last Man Out of the Sears Tower.
Sears Tower.
Not the Sears Tower. The
Twin
Twin
Towers?
Yes. The Sears Towers in Chicago.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not called the Sears Tower anymore.
Is it Willis Tower?
I think it is the Willis Tower, owned by the Chinese.
Bastard. But his name was Ron DeFrancisco, and he was a Canadian man. And he was on the 84th floor of the World Trade Center, and the plane hit between the 77th and the 85th. So he was like right at the top of where most of the destruction happened.
Yeah.
And he said when it hit, everybody was pretty much thrown to the floor.
Mm.
And their stairwell was actually behind a bunch of elevator equipment, so it was kind of protected. So that he was able to run in there with a bunch of other survivors. And they try to go down, but it's on fire.
Ooh.
And and then they can't go up because
There's no building.
but there's no escape if you go up.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you can get to the roof, but are they gonna really have helicopters coming out there?
Yeah.
So, and it was smoky, and they had some kind of issue where all the doors in the stairway lock.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, if there's a fire in the stairwell, the doors lock, the sprinkler comes on, puts the fire out.
Mm-hmm.
But in this situation, I don't think the sprinklers were coming on, but the doors locked anyway. And so everybody was stuck in there with all this smoke starting to billow up.
Oh, okay.
And
Podcat.
And a lot of people just started just laying down and being like,
Done.
we're done. And he laid down too. He's like, okay, I guess we're just gonna, this is it. And some voice was like, no, like, get up. And he said he felt like someone actually physically pick him up.
Mm.
And they're like, you're gonna go down. And it's like, look over here. And he like comes, because there was a bunch of debris and shit blocking the stairs to go down. And he like just notices one piece of like drywall that he like busted through to find the stairs. And he like slid down like a piece of concrete onto the stairs.
Whoa.
And then ran down and then got into like the like 83rd floor or something. Or he was on the 84th, so he got to like the 82nd, and then it was just fire. And the voice was like, just go, just jump in there, put your coat over your head, and run. And he ran down 3 floors of burning building,
Yeah.
and like made it. And when he was like halfway down the tower, he said he felt the voice and the present kind of leave, and he knew like, I'm gonna get out of here.
Free.
I'm gonna get out of here. But he fucking was going, and when he got out of the doors, it was like seconds before the tower collapsed.
Whoa.
Like debris and like a fireball blew him away, and he woke up like 9 days later in the hospital.
Damn.
Yeah, and like he broke a bone in his back. He had a gash on his head, and his contacts were melted into his eyes.
Oh,
Yeah, but
I mean, he's alive.
yeah, I feel sorry for that guy too, because I guess afterwards he was like had a lot of survivor guilt.
Oh, about not taking anybody with him?
Yeah, or because he's like he just left. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't like, hey everybody follow me. He was just like, I'm going,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But everybody else was also like smoke inhalation and all that. But
Yeah.
but he had a lot of guilt for being like, I had coworkers that I just left behind. Like,
That's crazy.
yeah, and it seems like the interviews I've heard with him, like from 2001, I guess it would be, because it was like 20 years later. He was saying like he became like a motivational speaker
Mm.
because telling about his story like helps him with it, with the fact that he lived through it and other people didn't.
Yeah, if you can't help the people in your past, might as well help the people in your future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got another kind of weird one, and there is a little bit of a trigger warning in this, but I tried to use better words.
Oh, maybe I should have said that. I was thinking about that too. I'm like, are you allowed to talk about 9/11?
Yeah, I mean,
I wasn't like, yeah, and he didn't even see any burning gasoline or
well, and you were saying that, and I was like kind of coming up with conspiracy stuff in my head, but
white magnesium.
yeah, I'll keep that on the Jam Show. So these two friends were in Florence, Italy, and I think they were Italian because they said that they walked past an American girl who was like seemed pretty drunk, and she had her phone on really loud, getting directions on how to get back to her apartment.
Yeah.
And they just kept walking past her, and they kind of stopped, and they turned around, and they saw a guy who was like pretty clean cut for being 4 a.m. And he was like, "Is that your friend?" And they were both like, "No." And he was like, "Do you think maybe you should make friends with her for just a little bit?" And the girls were like, "Okay." And they went and they helped the girl get back to her apartment. And when they got her there was a guy that was like in the parking lot exposing himself
Oh,
and like doing the dirty
okay.
while they were watching him,
Yeah.
or while he was watching them. And so after this girl got buzzed up into her apartment, they took off and got back to their place of residence.
Yeah.
And they looked at each other and they were like, "Yeah, well, what about that guy?" That the first girl was like, "What about that blonde guy? He was dressed like my dad. His looked like his favorite suit when he went to church." And the other girl was like, "No, actually, he was a Latino dude that looked like my dad, and he was kind of dressed the same way." So they both saw like a third person,
Yeah.
but they both saw it in the way that would like make a difference to them.
Right.
You know, like the parental figure that you would trust,
Yeah.
but through both of their eyes. I thought that was pretty
Oh,
interesting.
that's crazy. So each of them saw the guy, but different.
Yeah.
Huh.
And like,
Help that girl out.
yeah, yeah, like we were talking about in that first story with Shackleton, how they all felt the same feeling,
Yeah.
you know, and these two girls did too. I'm
Right.
assuming they were girls. It didn't say, but I would assume that it sounded like the story they were.
Yeah.
But they each saw the presence, but in a different way.
Right. Interesting. I just have like one more. Frank Smith or Smith. He almost was the first guy to climb Everest,
Okay.
but they were going up and it was starting to storm and stuff. And so his crew left and wanted to go back down the mountain, and he's like, "Come on, we're almost there." And he got like super close, like maybe like 200 feet or something,
Mm-hmm.
but he just couldn't get to the top. because it was just too crazy and the storm was rolling in. So he had to come back down. And like going down was like worse because like the storm was rolling in and he's by himself. But then he like felt a presence with him, and he would look back up the hill and like there's no one there. But he said he felt it so much that he was like had a snack cake or something, a spice cake, and he even broke off a piece and went to hand it to the person, but then there was no one there.
Damn.
Yeah. And he said he felt the presence all the way until he could see base camp, and then he had to make the rest of the trip on his own.
Yeah. That's it'd be interesting to do the whole thing solo.
Yeah.
And but then in that moment you're like, oh, of course there's somebody with me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's Herman Bull had the kind of the same experience, which was like this mountain. I think it's Nasa Pabst. I don't know. It's also by the Himalayas, so it's one of those odd kind of names. But he did it solo. It was like 24,000 feet, and like Everest is like 27,000 feet. So it's like
pretty comparable.
Yeah. But on the way down, he lost his knife pick, or not, ice pick.
Yeah.
Or whatever it's called.
I think it's an ice pick.
Yeah.
An ice pick is like what you would use to defrost your freezer.
Yeah, but the one that's like
hook shaped. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but when he made it back, he said that he felt a presence and it was there helping him, and even said belaying him, which is like when they let you down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, that's crazy. I don't know how that would work. But yeah, he said he like felt the presence the whole way back to his base camp, and then once he got there, yeah, it left.
Yeah. Wild.
It is wild.
I got one more. A nurse who was working swing shifts for like years, and she lived on the ground floor of an apartment just with her cat. On one night off, she fell asleep, like watching TV, and she woke up to a woman's voice screaming that she needed to get up right now. And it was so loud, it felt like it was right in her ear, that she freaked out and thought somebody was in her room with her.
Yeah.
And she got up and nobody was there, but she heard somebody was fiddling with her door, trying to break into her apartment.
Oh.
So like this voice woke her up, and she was able to get out of the apartment.
Yeah.
Before somebody else broke in.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, it could have been, some sort of subconscious dream, or
yeah, your subconscious hears it, and so
communicating with you.
Communicates with you.
Like a fight or flight situation, kind of elevated.
Right. It's weird. It's like Friday, my old lady, like I was getting out of my car and walking up to the door, and she like throws the door open, and she's like got like her hairspray and shit because we're getting ready to go out for the night, and she's like, "Did you just say my name?" I'm like, "No." And she's like, "I could have swore that I heard you say my name. That's why I came out here." I'm like, "Oh no." So that's weird. Maybe it's like her subconscious heard the car pull up and was like, "Hey."
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. I also heard this one theory that's, if you want to go into the paranormal, and it's that maybe there's like maybe it's like a spirit, but not necessarily like a guardian angel, but it's attracted to energies.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe it is like a guardian angel, but when you like put out these like stressful, anxious vibes that you would in a life or death situation, it shows up to kind of like give you a hand.
Yeah. Well, and I was wondering about like hauntings and stuff. Those could be like the opposite type of situation.
Yeah.
Just like you're putting out negative vibes and a negative energy shows up.
Yeah, that's why you never put out those negative energies.
Don't be negative on the Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast.
No, or in the lounge, because we don't want those spirits in here.
No, hell no. The only kind of spirits we like in the Blue Ribbon Lounge are the kinds you can drink.
Yeah.
You go.
Well, you were talking earlier about voices that have helped people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the idea would be like there's voices that also don't help people.
Yeah, I think so.
'Cause-
Well, like, kind of like schizophrenia.
yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, like you're in that situation, like say, well, fucking the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
We'll just stick on that. And that guy hears that voice and says, "Keep going," and he just happens to like break through some drywall and finds a way out. Well, who's not to say that there wasn't a voice and someone to be like, "Oh, just jump out the window," and they're like, and follow the voice's advice and just, yeah. But
Yeah.
you wouldn't know that there was someone there with them because
Yeah. Or, there could have been somebody else on a different floor that was like, keep going, and they just didn't find the hole.
yeah,
I wonder how many people, or how it would feel to, for lack of a better term, fail in a life or death situation. But maybe it would feel more comforting if you felt like you were doing it with somebody.
yeah. But those are the stories you never hear because they didn't make it out.
Ooh.
Because like the guy that broke his whole body in the avalanche, he heard one that's like keep going and yell out and got him out of there. But what if he lay down to die next to his friend and the inside voice was like, this is what you do. This
Yeah.
is just let yourself go. Just let go.
Yeah, they may be able to, if that guy wasn't meant to survive, maybe they just make him comfortable until the end.
Yeah.
Whether it's your subconscious or not.
Right.
Because your subconscious would either want to survive
Right.
if it believes it can, or at least not worry
Yeah.
while you're,
Just passing away.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
Or, also, I think maybe I've heard of people, like, when they are dying, like, a lot of times in the hospital, or, like, maybe just in bed with loved ones or something, they say, like, they see their family that have passed. Like, say a husband dies before a wife, and as the wife is dying, Marty, is that you?
Yeah.
Stuff like that could be kind of similar.
Yeah, I think there's a thing called maybe like widower's syndrome or widow's syndrome, where male or female, if they lose a spouse and then go on to live, their older age, they do sometimes like have heard reports of people like saying they see their spouse or they've seen their spouse or they've talked to them.
Mm-hmm.
Happened to my grandma when she was like
Really?
like her last year. She was like saying she saw grandpa and stuff like that, and
Wow.
yeah,
That's crazy.
a little bit.
How's that make you feel?
I don't know. He was a cool guy.
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything like that that's ever happened in my life. So I don't have that experience.
No, I can't even think like if you're falling asleep or like and you hear like your name or like you hear something.
Mm-hmm.
if
Things
that-
that go bump in the night.
Yeah, but there's a syndrome in your brain where as you're falling asleep, you'll hear like a bang, and like it's just
Just in your head?
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, because you're like
I feel like I've heard bangs, while I'm falling asleep before. I guess I just assumed it was a cat or something,
yeah,
You just kind of assume what it is.
yeah. I do that a lot too because I'm like, that's probably the cat, and if it's not, I'll probably find out pretty quick. Yeah, or if you start hearing like your TV getting stolen. Or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
you're
I
like,
guess
oh,
I went straight to being murdered.
oh. Well, yeah, but then I would definitely know if someone entered the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you would find out there's someone in your house. Like, fuck.
But hey, thanks for listening, everybody. These were some crazy tales.
Yeah. If you want to know more about it, I think there's a book called The Third Man Factor.
Oh, really?
I don't remember the writer's name, but but he also set up a website or a forum.
Oh.
I'm guessing it's called Third Man Factor if you just Google that.
Well, yeah, or we'll put it in the Facebook
Yeah,
group.
I always do that.
Yeah, you're pretty good about that, Dave. So if you have a good story, or if you want to hear some more stories like this, these are pretty good ghost stories, I feel like.
Yeah, and they're also like they can be a little motivational too.
Yeah. So yeah, check out the Facebook group. There's always people posting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We coming up on our 2-year episode. We're gonna have a very special guest.
Yes, that'll be interesting.
In 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, not next episode, but the episode after that.
Yes. So stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, and like and comment, leave a rating, do all that good stuff.
Yeah,
help us spread a little bit.
You know what I would love? Some topics.
Topics would be great too.
Yeah, we've been staring at the same. We have a lot of topics, and we're definitely going to do them, of course. But
yeah, get around to them. But if someone was like, I heard about the Loch Ness Monster recently, and I'd really like you guys to tell me about it.
Yeah,
I don't want to do my own research.
Yeah, even as cheesy as the Loch Ness Monster.
Well, we have to get that one eventually.
Yeah. But the most important thing is be good to yourselves out there.
Yes, and remember, it's a small world, but I wouldn't want to have to paint it.